Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Syed Akif Shah, lecturer finance at Institute of Business Studies, Kohat University of Science and Technology. The title of this course is Business Research Methods, and the course code for this subject is MS 312. This is lecture number 15, and the topic for today's discussion is Bibliography and Reference List. It means how to make a bibliography of the cited and referred material, and as well as the reference list. Bibliography is generally related with the book references. However, the journal and article references are denoted by the reference list. The reference list in as a whole refers to all the cited and quoted material in your research work, and particularly in the literature review section of your research or study. The outline of this lecture comprises of the research process diagram, a depiction, and the more emphasis will be on the reference list and bibliography, that is how to refer the particular article or book in the body of the literature review or throughout the research report, and then how to formulate a complete reference list or bibliography at the end of the study. This is the research process diagram, and we have already covered in our series of lectures the broad problem area, the second step preliminary data gathering, and the problem definition or narrow down the broad problem area. We have discussed the literature review in our previous lecture, and specifically we have discussed the journal articles, published and unpublished research work pertinent to our broad problem area or to the narrowed down problem area. And then we referred those studies which are already published or unpublished in different electronic and secondary data sources and data banks available in different data banks, and as well as online resources. Now, at the completion of this research diagram, which comprises of 5, 6, 7, 8 steps, which shall be discussed in the upcoming lectures, look at the step number 10. If the hypothesis has been substantiated with the help of deduction or induction, and the research question has been answered, and the researcher is going to write down the report on all the research process, then at the end of this research process, the researcher or the academic student is going to formulate a reference list and the bibliography. That is to mean that the resources, published or unpublished resources, or whatever kind of quotation the researcher or the student has used during the research work, and particularly in the write-up of the literature review, and as well as in the data analysis section when the student refers to the particular methodology adopted by certain researcher in past. So all those references needs to be compiled on a single page at the end of the report, so that anybody who is interested to get the full text book or full text access to those journal, so they can simply go to the reference page of the research work or the study, and they can simply find out them with the particular references given at the end of the research report. This reference and the bibliographic quotations actually strengthen the research work of the student. So let's say, what if the book has been published by a single author? Then what is the mechanism to refer at the end of the book? The AP style of referring or mentioning in the bibliography of the research report is to write down the author name at the start, like Catcher, then comma, and then its first name, or dot in the parenthesis the year of publication of the book, which is 1998 in our case. This italic mapping the mind is actually the name of the book. And final section of the narration, which is Berkeley, CA, colon, University of California Press is the printing press or the publisher name. First section is belongs to the author name and year of publication. The middle italic one is name of the book, and the final section belongs to the publisher. What if there are two authors to a book? While referring or quoting certain material from a book having two authors, so in your bibliography, you are going to mention both authors' name, starting with the first author, surname or the last name, comma, its first name, then put a dot, another comma, and write down and in order to represent the second author's name, which is White in our case, then comma, E dot B, and into the parenthesis the year of publication of the book, then put a dot, write down the name of the book, which is the Elements of Style, into the parenthesis third edition, another dot, and then at the end the publisher name, which is New York, colon, Macmillan. So this is the way how you can write down the reference of a book having two authors in your bibliography. Definitely in your research you might have, or definitely for sure you have referred to different research articles which could be applied in as well as academic descriptive research journal. How to make a reference list of such journal articles? You can use different softwares available, like in the market we have a very sophisticated software named as EndNote, and as well as online citation manager, which is Mendeley, can be used by academic students and the professional for citing journal articles in the body or text of the research work, and it will automatically generate this complete reference in a particular referencing style, whatever is the requirement of the researcher. In our business studies and social sciences, we normally use the American Psychological Association referencing style. So the style looks like the one depicted or shown in front of you. Start with the salads, the last name of the first author, then first name depicted with S or abbreviation, and put a dot and column, comma, and then insert and symbol. And then the second author name, last name is Mills, once again a comma, and then it's first name of this Mills, and into the parenthesis mention the year of publication of this article. The middle narration belongs to the title of the research paper, which is administrative issue for use of nurse practitioners. Then put another dot, full stop, and then write down the journal name, which is Journal of Nursing Administration. Now this is the title of the journal which has published this research paper. Its number is 25 and the volume of this journal is 5th. And on page number 64 to 70 you can find out this research paper in volume 5th. How to refer a magazine? It's very simple. Write down the magazine title in the year of publication, which is 1993, October 29. And the name of the magazine is Seeing the Mind, full stop. Publisher is Science, and the page number are 262, 673 and 674. So you can find out any particular quotation, and with the help of this reference you can find out the exact narration what you have used in your literature review, the body of your research work. Someone who is interested to see either that particular quotation or statement has been written in the magazine, so he or she can simply go to the bibliographic section of this research work and then find out the specific reference of that quotation or statement. How to refer a newspaper in your research work? It's very easy. Write down the writer name, which is Schwartz J 1993 September 30th newspaper, and the article was on the obesity affects economic status. This was the article, a title of the article, and the news publisher or the newspaper name was the Washington Post. PP on A1 and A4 page, you can find out this article dated on September 30th, 1993, written by Schwartz J. You can also refer the authentic website URL in your research work. The process is very simple, written by that particular statement or article written by Green C on April 16, 2000, into the parenthesis, then put a full stop. And the title of that article was History and Philosophy of Psychology Web Resources, and it has been retrieved from this URL, which is www.yorku.ca/dept.html. With the help of this reference pattern, you can mention the quotation or particular statement with the name of Green C 2000 April 16. This is very important article with digital object identifier DOI number. There is an international organization named with International DOI Digital Object Identifier Foundation. What is the task of this organization is to assign the digital number to the books and as well as research articles. So what the researchers normally does, they, in order to make their resources, that is the books or their research paper, easily searchable, they usually register their research article or books with the International Foundation of Digital Object Identifiers. So a researcher can simply register his research article with the International Organization for Digital Object Identifier, and that organization will assign a yellow highlighted digital number to that specific research paper, just like in front of you. So what was the research article? The Stultz J 2006, Integrating Exposure Therapy and Analytic Therapy in the Trauma Treatment, and this was published in American Journal of Orthopsychiatry. The number was 76 in the order, in the volume of 4, and on the pages of 482 to 488 you can find out this research paper in the American Journals of Orthopsychiatry with the title of Integrating Exposure Therapy and Analytic Therapy in Trauma Treatment. However, another way around, if you would like to search this research paper to read in full, you can simply search this digital object identifier number by visiting the website of International Digital Object Identifier Foundation. You can insert this digital number and just simply press the enter button, and you will directly be linked with the download option of the particular research paper if the author has allowed free access to that research paper or article or a book which they have published. This is a very unique features which normally the researcher do to register their research paper and as well as books they are going to publish or they have already published somewhere. You can also refer to the online dictionary if you have utilized that in explaining certain phenomena into your research work. And the method to refer that in your bibliographic and reference section is to write down the heuristic ND. in the Maryland's Webster's Online Dictionary. This is the name of the dictionary, and this is the company or authority, retrieved from www.m/w.com/dictionary. You can find out this online dictionary. If certain phenomena or words has been defined with the help of any particular online dictionary in your research, like in introduction, in literature, or in the explanation of any variable, then you can also cite such online dictionary in the body of the research work, and later on such citation may be referred and included in the bibliographic and reference part of your research work, which is normally available at the end of the research report or the research article. Now, what is the reference list? What we have been talking about the bibliography and reference list. Reference list is normally reference list has been normally found at the end of the research paper or at the end of the book, and as well as at the end of any research articles. How actually they have been arranged? There is certain formula or rule or mechanism for mentioning the reference list, which is arranged the sources alphabetically beginning with the author's last name. It means that if the author name has been started with J, like John, or Ali, so the A actually comes first, then the John J. So therefore, you need to arrange alphabetically the author's last name. First of all, you need to mention that reference which starts with A and then later on with B, and so on and so forth up to Z. If the author has more than one source, arrange entries by year wise. Let's say if a particular author has written a research paper and as well as a book, and in your research and literature review you have not only referred to his research paper but as well as to his book. So in that case, which reference may come first, the research article or the book published by the same author? The journal formula or mechanism is whatever source has been published earlier, that may come first than the one which has been published later on. Like if Mr. David has published a research article in 1991 and later on he has published a book in 1995, so you can just mention the 1991 research paper at first and then later on can mention the reference of the same author's book. What is a reference list? You need to bear in your mind there are certain 6 points. Place the list of references cited at the end of the paper or research work. This reference list has to be mentioned at the end of the report, what I have explained and told you in the beginning slides of this lecture, that at the completion of research process diagram, when you are going to write down the report on your research work, then at the end of that research report you are going to mention the references you have utilized while conducting that research work. Secondly, start references on a new page. Like at the end of the report, you are not going to start writing down the references where you have ended and written or deduced your conclusion. Rather, you must start references from a new fresh page. Begin each entry flush with the left margin indentation. Now what is this? Like in the next slide we can see there should be certain indentation. It should be left margin indented. Indent subsequent lines 5 to 7 spaces. Like if a reference is larger than what the available space is, then the second line must be indented from the first line. Fifth point is double space both within and between the entries. There must be the double space between the reference and between the words, reference lines and between the words. And finally, italicize the title of the books, magazine, and journal. While referring journals, books, or magazine, the title of the books, magazine, and journal must be italicized as mentioned in our final slides. Like you can see that the first rule, that the author whose name comes first in the alphabetical order needs to be placed at the top, like C come first then F, and similarly F come first then G. So the Calvio D 1993, and this is what the last point was emphasizing, to italicize the title of the journal, which is Theoretical Development of Aggression, retrieved August 21, 2003 from this website. So this was actually the website link. It is not a journal link. Similarly, Flory RK 1969A and then 1969B. This was referring to the point of this: if the author has more than one source, arrange entry by year wise. So we have arranged 1969A first, then the 1969B. The same author has published two papers: Attack Behavior as a Function of Minimum Interfood Interval, and this title of this research paper was Attack Behavior and a Multiple Fixed Ratio Schedule of Reinforcement. But in the same year, this Flory has published two research papers. So therefore, with the first paper, the paper which Flory has published first, there is A mentioned in the subscript of the year. And the next paper in the same year, what Flory has published, there must be B in the subscript of the year. So this A and B represents the first publication in 1969 by Flory, and this B represents or depicts the second publication of Flory RK in 1969. And this italic narration represents the journal name, which is Journal of Experimental Analysis Behavior. Its volume or sequence number 12, and on the pages 825 to 828 you can find this research paper. And similarly, this is the Psychonomic Science, its volume number 6, and on pages number 383 to 386 you can find out the second research publication of this researcher Flory. Finally, we can also say the Gently W 1968 research fixed ratio schedule induced aggression. This is title of the research work or article, and this is the journal name, which is Journal of Experimental Analysis of the Behavior. This 11 represents the volume, and this refers 813 to 817 refers the pages number of this journal, where you can find the Gentry's WB research paper. So dear student, at the end or at the completion of your research report or thesis or dissertation, generally there is expected from the student and required by the student to use the APA format if they are from social sciences, to give a complete reference and bibliographic list at the end of their research work, so that anybody who is interested to find out the full text literature, full text research paper, or full text book or the website link, so he or she may become easy at finding the relevant material if they are looking at pursuing the similar nature of study in future to complete the loopholes in the prevailing or existing body of knowledge. So this reference list is very much crucial and important for the next phase research work, where with the help of snowball techniques, researcher can find out the topic of their interest for further research work in the existing body of knowledge. This was all about the references, how to quote them in the body of the literature review and research work, and later on how to make a complete bibliographic and reference list at the end of the research report. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture. If you have any question, you can ask. Good luck for the day. Allah Hafiz.